Hi everyone, Namaskar. So I hope all are doing good. So in the last class we completed a chemical kinetics topic. So now we are going to start next chapter, solid state. So we all know that there is a three states of matter: gas, liquid and solid. So matter is nothing but any substance which possesses some mass and occupies some space is called matter. It has three states: gas, liquids and solids. So we'll study about solid state. So what are the general characteristics of solids? So they exhibit specific geometry, specific shape, and they are rigid to compress, which means they are incompressible in nature. So solids exhibit strong intermolecular forces. So between molecules they exhibit strong interactions. So because of strong interactions, the distance between the particles will be less. That means short internuclear distance. So all these are the general characteristics. All this we know. So till 10th class we study this. Solids are incompressible. Solids are strong attractions. Solids exhibit small internuclear distance. So like this. Now in this topic, solids are mainly classified to two types. Solids are mainly classified to two types. So those are, one is called crystalline, another one is called amorphous. Both are solids. This is also solid, this is also solid. So both have strong interactions are there, because solids means strong interactions. But further, solids are classified to two types: crystalline and amorphous. So what is the basis for this classification is, the basis is arrangement of constituent particles. So every solid is made up of some constituent particles. Not only solid, any substance. It may be gas, it may be liquid or it may be solid. Every substance is made up of some constituent particles. So particles can be atoms, it can be molecules, it can be ions, whatever. If that constituent particles are arranged in a regular manner, then such solids are called crystalline solids. So crystalline solids are those, the arrangement of constituent particles in a regular manner. Like this. This is a constituent particle. If all these constituent particles arranged in a regular manner, such types of solids are called crystalline solids. If the arrangement is irregular, such types of solids are called amorphous solids. Like this. So such types of solids, there is no regular arrangement is there. Those are called amorphous. This is the main basic. If order is regular, that is crystalline solid. If order is irregular, then that is called amorphous solids. Now, so crystalline solids, because of regular arrangement, all particles present in planes. So all these particles present in one plane. These are present in one plane. These are present in one plane, like this. So in crystalline solids, all particles present in plane. So that's why when we cut with knife, any crystalline solid, when we are cut with knife, so they will show smooth plane. That is called clean cleavage. So crystalline solids will show clean cleavage due to arrangement of particles in planes. But here particles are not present in planes. If you are cutting like this, so one is in plane, one is not in plane. So this is irregular. So that does not show smooth planes on cutting with knife. So first point, regular and repeat arrangement of particles. Irregular arrangement of particles, they will show clean cleavage on cutting with knife. They does not show clean cleavage on cutting with knife. Crystalline solids, also called true solids. That is the third point. These are called true solids, and these are called pseudo solids. So crystalline solids other name true solids, whereas amorphous solids other name pseudo solids. Sometimes this is also called supercooled liquids, because most of the amorphous solids are prepared by supercooling of liquids. So from liquids we can prepare amorphous solids. That's why they are also called supercooled liquids. These are true solids. These are pseudo solids. So examples of crystalline solids. We can use number of examples. Ionic solids, like NaCl, MgCl2, ionic solids. Also metallic solids, mostly all metals like magnesium, iron, gold, etc. Any metals mostly. Also some quartz. Carborundum, etc. So all these are the true solids, that means crystalline solids. In all these solids, particles are arranged in a regular and repeated manner. Now amorphous solids examples. The best example will be glass and mostly all polymers. Polymers means like plastics, all these we know. So those are also solids, but those are amorphous solids. Mostly all polymers are amorphous solids. So this is the third point. Examples: ionic solids, metallic solids, extra quartz. Quartz means nothing but silica. Its formula is SiO2. Remember, glass formula is also SiO2. Formula of quartz and glass, both are same. Why it is a crystalline? Why it is amorphous? So quartz is nothing but whatever the sand we are using. Sand is nothing but quartz. So that is the formula SiO2. That is a crystalline solids in which all particles are arranged in a regular manner. But if this quartz on heating, it will be melted into liquid. That liquid again on cooling, it will be converted to supercooled liquid, that is called glass. So on melting, the arrangement will be changed. It will become irregular and that will become glass. So quartz is a crystalline, but on melting, particles arrangement will change and it is converted to glass, that will be amorphous. So these are the main basic differences. Regular order, these are called true solids. They will show clean cleavage. So these are the examples. Another important point, crystalline solids will show most important property, anisotropic. So crystalline solids are anisotropic. What is anisotropic? Whereas amorphous solids are isotropic. See this. For example, I am taking NaCl solid. NaCl is a crystalline solid. So in NaCl solid, here the constituent particles are Na plus Cl minus. Na plus Cl minus. Like that here Cl minus, Na plus, Cl minus, Na plus. So this is a regular arrangement of ionic solids. Positive and negative ions are there. So this is a crystalline solid. Now see this. In this crystalline solid, suppose if we are passing electricity, just we are passing current. If in this direction when we are passing current, here the current is conducted by negative charge ion, positive charge ion, negative charge, positive charge. So here the conductivity is due to both negative and positive ions. But if you are passing in different direction, like this, if you are passing, charge is positive, positive, positive. So in this axis only positive ions are conducting. In this axis both positive and negative ions are conducting. If you are passing in this direction, only negative ions are conducting. So that means in different directions they will show different conductivity or different resistance values. So such different physical properties in different directions. is called anisotropic. So crystalline solids are anisotropic. Why? Because in crystallines all particles are in a fixed position. They does not deviate from that position. So when we are passing whatever the electricity in different directions, so we get different resistance values in different directions. So that property is called anisotropic. So the statement of anisotropic, it is the exhibition of different physical properties like resistance or refractive index in different directions is called anisotropic. But here particles always continuously will change their position. So due to that, in any direction we are observing, the values must be same. Such properties are called isotropic. Amorphous are isotropic, whereas crystallines are anisotropic. So this is some basic differences between crystalline and amorphous. So what are the differences we learn? Crystalline solids are a regular and repeated arrangement of particles. They are true solids. They will show clean cleavage when we are cutting with knife. Examples we have seen. And they are anisotropic in nature, whereas amorphous solids, they are isotropic, irregular arrangement of particles. So examples we have seen. They are also called pseudo solids or supercooled liquids. And so this does not exhibit clean cleavage when we are cutting with knife. Similarly, crystalline solids order will be long range, whereas amorphous order will be short range. So this is the differences. Now in this chapter we study mostly crystalline solids, not about amorphous solids. Just for differences we are stating amorphous and crystalline, but we only study crystalline solids in the solid state. So what are the properties of crystalline solids? Regular repeat arrangement of particles, they show clean cleavage, anisotropic in nature, they are called true solids. So they are long range order. Examples we have seen: ionic solids, metallic solids, number of examples. Now these crystalline solids further classified to 4 types. We are classifying the crystalline solids. We are not studying amorphous, we are only studying crystalline solids. So crystalline solids are mostly classified to 4 types based on constituent particles. So I said solid can be formed by any constituent particle. It can be atoms, it can be molecules, it can be ions, whatever. So based on which particles are forming solids, these crystalline solids are classified to 4 types. So what are the examples we will see? The crystalline solids, the first one is type of crystalline solid. The first one is molecular crystalline solids. So molecular, here the constituent particles. So here the nature we write. Conductivity we write. Right, this is enough. So type of solids, constituent particles, nature of the solid, conductivity. So these 4 properties enough. So first one is molecular solids, and the second one is ionic solid. The third one is metallic, whereas the fourth one is covalent, which is also called network solids. So 4 types of crystalline solids based on the constituent particles. So what is molecular solids means? If the constituent particles are molecules, so you have nothing but particles are molecules. From the molecules you are forming solids, that is called molecular crystalline solid. But molecules can be actually different types. So they can be non-polar, or they can be polar, or they can be some hydrogen bonded. So what is a non-polar, polar, hydrogen bond? All these actually we learn in chemical bonding topic. But just I am explaining. Non-polar, which means the molecule does not exhibit any dipole moment. Example, we are taking H2 molecule. In H2 molecule, hydrogen single bond hydrogen. So both are similar atoms. So the dipole moment will be 0. Another example, CO2 molecule. CO2 molecule structure should be linear structure like this. C double bond O, C double bond O. So in this direction, oxygen will pull. In this direction, oxygen will pull due to more electronegativity. So both will be cancelled equally. Its dipole moment is also 0. That's why it is also non-polar molecule. So non-polar molecule means whose dipole moment will be 0, like H2, CO2, O2, etc. So all these are non-polar molecules. If these are converted to solids, those are called non-polar molecular crystalline solids. Same like polar. Example, HCl. So definitely HCl is a polar molecule. Hydrogen, chlorine, different atoms. Chlorine will pull electrons. So some dipole moment will be there. That is a polar molecule. Similarly, SO2 is a polar molecule. CO2 is a non-polar, whereas SO2 is a polar. So don't confuse this. Just we have to identify this shape. Geometry when we know. So it is a linear, but it is a bent molecule. So that's why it is a polar molecule. Similarly, hydrogen bond best example, water. Water means ice. So ice is a hydrogen bonded molecule. So what is a hydrogen bond? That also actually we learn in chemical bonding. But just hydrogen bond formed by 3 elements. Those are chlorine, oxygen and nitrogen. Any of these 3 elements are attached with hydrogen. They have the possibility of hydrogen bond. So in water, oxygen and hydrogen both are there. So they can form hydrogen bond. Now when you are observing the nature, all molecular solids are soft in nature, whereas hydrogen bonded ice must be hard. Remember, hydrogen bonded ice will be hard, remaining polar or non-polar molecular solids will be soft in nature. So when you are observing conductivity, so all these are insulators in nature. So these are also insulators, these are also insulator. So all molecular solids are insulators in nature. Also here melting point I missed. So molecular solids exhibit low melting point. Just the melting point will be low melting point. Now second one is ionic solids. Ionic solids. So ionic solids, constituent particles must be ions. Constituent particles must be ions. So between the ions, some electrostatic force or coulombic forces will be there. So ionic solids are due to strong coulombic attraction. Molecular solids mostly contains, here already given, non-polar means they contain van der Waals attractions, mostly London forces. Polar molecules mostly contain dipole forces. Directly hydrogen bond is the name of the hydrogen bond force. Ionic molecules contains ionic forces or coulombic forces. And examples, number of examples you can say NaCl, KCl, MgCl2, etc. All these are ionic compounds. Now nature. So ionic solids actually hard in nature, but at the same time they are brittle in nature. Hard and brittle. Even though they are hard, but they can be easily breakable. Why hard molecules can be easily breakable? Why? Because, for example, you are taking NaCl. NaCl is made up of Na plus Cl minus ions. Just charge I am taking. Suppose this is NaCl ionic solid. So this is very hard. But in ionic solids, when we are applying force, any force when you are applying, so the same charge ions will contact with each other, because due to applying pressure or force, same charge ions will come near. So when they are coming nearer, so due to repulsions between similar charges, they can be easily breakable. So that is the main reason. Even though they are hard, they are brittle. Since on applying force, same charge ions contact with each other. So due to repulsions, they will be easily breakable. So that is the hard and brittle. So whereas when observing conductivity, they are insulators in solids and conductors in molten state. Ionic solids are insulators in solid state, whereas conductors in molten state. Why? Because if they are present in solid state, the solids means already is a strong attractions. So between the ions, strong attractions are there. So due to strong attractions, ions cannot move freely. That means there is no momentum of ions. So when there is no momentum of ions, they cannot conduct electricity. That's why they are insulators in solid state. But when we are melting, the forces will be break. So ions can be moved. So due to movement of ions, they conduct electricity. So they are conductors in molten state, whereas insulators in solid state. So melting point when you are observing, they exhibit high melting point. Molecular solids are low melting point, ionic solids are high melting point. So the next one is metallic solids. So metallic solids, constituent particles, positive ions in cloud of electrons. So between some electronic cloud, some positive ions will be present. So that is the actual structure of metallic structure. In any metallic structures, some positive ions always surrounded by electrons. So those are called constituent particles. These positive ions also called kernels. So because of these kernels, so they are metallic solids. The examples can be iron, gold, magnesium. So any metallic solids we can take. All metallic solids are under metallic. So this is a constituent particle, positive ions in the cloud of electrons. Here constituent particles ions, constituent particles molecules. Now metallic solids also hard in nature and they are not brittle, whereas they are malleable and ductile. Metallic solids are hard, malleable and ductile. So malleable means they can be beaten into sheets, whereas ductile means they are drawn into wires. So that's why mostly metallic solids we are using in ornaments. So why we are using jewels? Because gold is the most ductile metal. So that's why it is mostly used in whatever the jewelries. So not only gold, mostly all metals we use in jewelries like platinum, even iron also we can use in jewelry. So because of that malleable and ductile nature. Now in observing, so they are very good conductors. Metallic solids are very good conductors, both in solid state as well as molten state. Ionic solids are only in molten state, they are conductors. Whereas metallic solids in both molten or solid state, they can be very good conductors. So why they are conducting electricity means, so due to moving electrons. In metallic solids, some electrons will be moved, or valence electrons also we can call mobile electrons. So due to these mobile electrons, they are good conductors. But in ionic solids, conductivity is due to movement of ions. Whereas in metallic solids, conductivity is due to mobile electrons. So last one, covalent or network solids. Here the constituent particles normally we call atoms, mostly non-metal atoms. So atoms we can take as covalent. So examples, number of examples we can say, as I told, SiO2, quartz. Quartz is a network solid. Silicon carbide, SiC. Its name is silicon carbide. General name is carborundum. So this is carborundum, like that. Boron nitride, aluminum nitride. So all these are covalent solids, also called network solids. Even diamond, graphite, directly we can use. So these are very hard in nature. Not very hard in nature. So they exhibit very high melting points. Among all covalent solids will exhibit high melting point. So all are hard in nature except graphite. Graphite is a soft in nature, except graphite remaining diamond or whatever, all are hard in nature. And here all those covalent solids are insulators in nature, again except graphite. So graphite is a conductor, remaining all are insulators. So this table you have to practice. The table of differentiation between crystalline and amorphous also important. Also classification of crystalline solids also important. So I send some material. So use that material. So whatever the examples and all that tables you have to practice. So this is the classification of crystalline solids. So we completed classification. So the next topic is crystal lattice and another unit cell. So two definitions we have to learn: crystal lattice and unit cell. So when we are taking a crystalline solids, so as I said, crystalline solids are a regular and repeated arrangement of constituent particles. All these particles arranged in a three-dimensional manner. So three-dimensional manner means particles present in x-axis, also present in y-axis, also present in z-axis. So due to present in particles in three directions, the shape or geometry of the crystalline solids will be a cubical geometry. So like a cube. So all particles will be arranged inside the cube. So such geometry we call crystal lattice. So crystal lattice is nothing but it is the geometry of a crystalline solid. So whatever the crystalline solids we are having, their geometry we are calling as crystal lattice. But what is unit cell? So unit cell is also a geometry. Then what is the difference between this and this? Both are geometries. Whereas unit cell is a small portion of the crystal lattice. If you are taking a big crystal lattice, in that one small portion we are calling as unit cell. That means so these unit cell geometry, its crystal lattice geometry, both are same. But when these unit cells are very small, when these are repeated, they will become crystal lattice. So unit cells on regular repeat arrangement, they will become crystal lattice. So both are geometry of the crystalline solids. So geometry normally we can take as a cubical geometry like this. So no one will write cube like this except me. So this is a cubical geometry. There must be three axes, x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. One we are taking as A, and this we are taking as B, this we are taking as C. These are we are taking as edges. Edge of this one is A, this edge is B, this edge is C. And the angle between these edges, between B and C, we are taking as alpha. Between A and C, we are taking as beta. Between these two, we are taking as gamma. So a unit cell is denoted with some edge values and some angles. So edge values are represented with A, B, C. Angles are represented with alpha, beta, gamma. So crystal lattice and unit cell both are same. That is the cubical geometry of the crystalline solids. Small portion is unit cell, a large portion is the crystal lattice. So whatever we study now, just we study about a small portion, we call it unit cell. So this is the unit cell geometry. A unit cell is denoted with parameters like ABC as edges, alpha, beta, gamma as angles. Right. So these unit cells mostly classified, number of classifications are there. The first classification is based on constituent particles. So what is particle means? This cube means not a direct cube, no? So this is made by particles. All particles will combine and form a cube shape. So that we are calling as unit cell. So which particles we are combining? Where the particle is present in the cube. So based on the position of particles, these unit cells are classified to. So based on the position, these unit cells are classified to mainly actually two types. One is called primitive, whereas the second one is called centered cubic. Actually two types. Again, this further classified to three types. So primitive and centered cubic. So what is a primitive means? If the constituent particles present at corners of that cube, then that is called primitive cubic unit cell or primitive unit cell. Primitive unit cells are those that crystalline solids are made by corner particles. That means so this is a corner particle. This is a corner particle. This is a corner. This is a corner. Corner. There are total 8 corners. So all these 8 particles will combine and forming a cube. And such cubes are called primitive unit cells. So in primitive unit cells, particles always present at corner. So there must be 8 corners. So that's why the number of lattice points. So lattice point, another definition, it is the position of particle, nothing but it is the position of particle. It is not number of particles, it is the position of particle. So here at one corner, one particle is there. So this particle position we call lattice point. So this is also called lattice point. This is also called lattice points. So in primitive, there are 8 lattice points. So number of lattice points will be 8 because for a cube there must be 8 corners. The positions we are calling as lattice points. Lattice point means positions of particles. Particle is present at which position? The position we call as lattice point. So particle is present at corner. So this corner position we call lattice point. So total how many corner positions? 8 corner positions. So the number of lattice points will be 8. That is the primitive. Now the second type will be centered cubic. So what is centered cubic means? In any unit cell, along with corners. So corners are compulsory. Particles must be present at corners. Along with that corner particles, any extra position particles are present, and those are called centered cubic particles. Centered cubic unit cell. Along with corners, any extra particle of position is present. That is centered cubic. So these centered cubics can be, the possibles are FCC. So FCC means face centered cubic. The next one is BCC, which means body centered cubic. Next one is the ECC, that is nothing but end centered cubic. So these are the total classification based on lattice points or position of particles. One is the primitive, remaining 3 centers. Face centered, body centered, end centered. Total 4 types. Primitive, FCC, BCC, ECC. So 4 unit cells are possible based on number of lattice points. So primitive means what I told, particles present at corners. So what is FCC? FCC means face centered cubic. So face centered cubic means along with corners. So corners already told it must be compulsory. So without corners, so geometry will not exist. So along with corners, extra particles present at face center. So at face center, extra particle is present. So what is the face center means? So say this is a cube. This is called a face. This is the above face. Like that. This is the below face. This one is the side face. So this one is the side face. This one is the front face. So this one is the back face. So for every cube, there must be 6 faces. Front, back, above, below, both sides. Total 6 faces are possible. At each face center, if constituent particles are present like this, then that is called face centered cubic along with corners. Corners are compulsory. So what are the number of lattice points? There are corners, 8 lattice points are there, and also 6 faces. At each face, one centered particle is there. So total 8 plus 6, 14. So in FCC, 14 lattice points. In primitive, 8 lattice points. In FCC, 14 lattice points. So that is the FCC. Next one is BCC. So BCC means body centered. What is body center means? Along with corners, so total body center of the cube have particle, and that is called body center. So body center means only one body for the cube. So only one particle. So 8 corners plus one body. The number of lattice points will be 9. Just I am explaining what is the positions only. Lattice point means position. 8 corner positions and one body center position. Total 9 positions, 9 lattice points. Similarly, the last one is end-centered cubic. End-centered cubic means along with corners, any two opposite faces. Faces, actually 6 faces are possible, but in any two opposite faces, if particle is present, and that is called end-centered cubic. So two ends of any face, above face, below face, or both side face, or front or back face. So any two opposite faces have particles along with corners, and that is called end-centered. So what is the lattice points? Corners must be 8 plus only two opposite faces. So 8 plus 2, 10. Number of lattice points will be 10. Primitive, lattice points 8, only corners. FCC, lattice points 4, 8 corners plus 6 faces. Body center 9, 8 plus 1 body center. ECC, 8 plus 2 end centers. So total 10. So this is the classification based on lattice points. Another classification is there based on parameters. Based on parameter, another classification. What is the parameters means? A unit cell is denoted with parameters like ABC, alpha, beta, gamma. So ABC means edge length, alpha, beta, gamma are angles. So based on the edge length values and angle values, so these unit cells are mainly classified to 7 types. Unit cells are classified to 7 types based on edge length and angles values. So those are see this table. There are 7 types of unit cells are there based on their parameter values. So parameters means edges and angles. So based on these values, total 7 types. The first one is a cubic. A cubic unit cell means the edge of A is equal to B, B is equal to C. That means all edge length values are same. Also, the angle between those edges are exactly 90 degrees. So such unit cell is called cubic. So in cubic unit cell, we can get primitive unit cell also. Primitive means particles present at corners. So in primitive, cubic is present. Also, BCC also present, FCC also present. Whereas ECC does not present in cubic. So which present, which does not present, that is important. So total these are the possibility. Present means actually naturally existing compounds. So naturally existing compounds of cubic unit cells are contains either primitive, BCC or FCC. This much only. Similarly, tetragonal. A equal to B, but B is not equal to C. Angles are 90 degrees. Possibility are primitive and BCC. So like that, total 7 types are there. So this table is also important. Sometimes they will ask what are the parameters for this type of unit cells. So only 7 types. Just we have to practice this. Also some examples also there, but examples are not required. Just these parameter values and these are important. So when you are observing this, so these are 7 types possible based on parameters. And based on lattice points, these are the possible. So the total possible unit cells, when we are counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There are 14 unit cells or 14 crystal lattices are possible. So all these 14 crystal lattices we call Bravia crystal lattices. Just in memory of one French scientist, Bravia. So we call these are Bravia lattices. So Bravia lattice are total 14. So these are the 14 cubic primitive, cubic BCC, cubic FCC, like that. Total 14s are possible. So these are called Bravia crystal lattices. Yes, whatever the tables are there, so table just you have to practice that. So 1 or 2 times when you are practicing, it will become very easy. So table of differentiation between crystal and amorphous. Another is the classification of crystalline solids table. Another one is this unit cells classification table. So these are important. So till now what we learn? Types of solids, crystalline and amorphous, classification of crystalline solids, and classification of unit cell. Unit cell is nothing but geometry. So how many types of geometries are possible for a crystalline solid? There are total 14 types are possible that we are calling as Bravia lattices. So we have seen that based on lattice points, we classify it to primitive, FCC, BCC. Now these are lattice points. But inside that cube, what is the actual number of atoms? We can't just 8 particles are present in primitive. But all that 8 particles does not present inside the cube. Because they are present at corner. So corner means some of the particle will be present outside, some of the particle present inside. So inside the cube, how much portion of atoms are present? That we are calculating. So that we are calculating as number of atoms. We just know lattice points only. Now we calculate number of atoms. Lattice point means just position. Position name is the position number we are calling as lattice points. But the actual part of atom we are calling as number of atoms. For example, the first one primitive I am taking. So what is meant by primitive? All constituent particles present at corner position. So this is a cube. Here suppose a corner position, particle is present like this. So the total atom is not belongs to this cube. Only this much portion. Only this much portion present inside the cube. Remaining this total portion is outside the cube. So how much portion present inside the cube, that we are calculating as number of atoms. So what is the portion of this corner part? Whatever the particles present at corner, so that corner particle will contribute 1/8 part of that atom. Any atom present at the corner, so that atom inside that cube, 1/8 part is present. Why 1/8 part? Why not other value? So why simple see this? One example I will say. See this, just imagine this is a cube. So this is a corner. This is a corner, just imagine as a cube. Now here particle is there. When corner particle is there, some amount present outside, some amount present inside. The inside value I told is 1/8. Why 1/8? Because see this. So this is one cube. If in this side, when you are adding another cube, like this is a cube. If you are adding here another second cube, the corner particle also attached to this cube, like this. So particle is also present here. Now before this cube, when we are adding another cube, particle also attached to that, and before this cube also we are adding, so particle also present. So total 4 cubes. This one, this one, this one, this one. All these 4 cubes contain that corner particle. So total 4 cubes contain that corner particle. So not only these 4 cubes, if above of these 4 cubes when you are attaching like this, the particle also belongs to that 4 cubes. That means one particle of corner completely belongs to 8 cubes. So total 8 cubes contain that one particle. That means the one particle equally distributed to 8 cubes. So in each cube they will distribute 1/8 part. So that's why the corner atom is always 1/8 part. Suppose here particle is there. It is also contribute 1 by 8 part. Like that, each corner particle will contribute 1 by 8 part. How many corner particles are there? There must be 8 corner particles. Into corner contributes only 1 by 8, that is equal to 1 atom. So that means in primitive unit cell, exactly one complete atom is present. Because 1 by 8, 1 by 8, 1 by 8 completely converted to one total atom. So number of atoms in primitive will be 1. The second one is what? FCC, I think. The second one is FCC. So what is meant by FCC? Along with corner particles, extra 6 particles present at the phase center. So when you are calculating number of atoms, so definitely corner will be 8 into 1 by 8 plus phase center. So already we know phases will be 6 phases, whereas each phase contribute 1 by 2 part. Why 1 by 2 part? Suppose here this is a phase, it has particle. This particle completely does not present inside. Half amount also present outside. So any cube we are adding from above. So this particle also attached to that cube. That means one phase center particles belongs to 2 cubes. So equally distributed in 2 cubes. So in one cube there must be half particle. Half means 1 by 2. So each phase contains half. So like this will be 1, this will be 3. So total number of atoms will be 4. The same like when you are observing BCC. So BCC also containing corner particles plus body center. So body center means, so the total body inside this one particle is there. So completely that particle inside is present, does not present outside. So completely one atom, which is equal to 1 plus 1 will be 2. So same like if you are calculating end-centered cubic, anything you can calculate. So here also 8 into 1 by 8 plus end-centered, only 2 end faces particles are there. So faces must be 2. Face part already we know 1 by 2, 1 plus 1. This is also 2. End cubic center 2 particles, BCC 2 particles, FCC 4 particles, primitive. Primitive is also sometimes called simple cubic. Both are same. Primitive or simple cubic unit cell. So simple cubic 1, FCC 4, BCC 2, UCC 2. These are the number of particles inside the cube. So this is the important, because we are after that we get some formulas. In that formulas, so one value Z will be there. Z is nothing but number of atoms. The given is simple cubic, so Z value will be 1. Given is FCC, Z value will be 4. Given is BCC, Z value will be 2. So like this we will calculate. So this is the number of atoms. So the next topic is close packed structures. So before going to close packed structure, first we will start one topic, that will be packing efficiency. So closed packed structure we will see in the next class. So first we will say packing efficiency. So this is also called packing fraction. Packing efficiency also called packing fraction. So what is the packing efficiency is, so in any cube inside some atoms are present, but however even though solids are very strong attraction, but it does not occupy completely 100% space. There must be some empty space. So inside the cube, how much space is occupied by the atoms is called packing efficiency. So packing efficiency means occupied volume of particles in the cube or in the unit cell. That is called packing efficiency. So packing efficiency formula: volume of atoms by volume of unit cell into 100. So that is a very simple formula. In a given unit cell, how much total atoms of space is there? That is called packing efficiency. Occupied space is called packing efficiency. The remaining whatever unoccupied space is there, that is called empty space. Sometimes both questions they can ask. What is the packing efficiency of FCC or BCC, or what is the empty space available in FCC, BCC? So empty space means 100 minus packing efficiency, because percentage we are calculating for 100, so total must be occupied plus unoccupied will be 100. If occupied we are subtracting, we get unoccupied space. So that is the packing efficiency formula. So first we will calculate for simple cubic. Actually derivation is not required, but inside the derivation we get one formula. That formula is most important. So first we calculate for simple cubic. So what is meant by simple cubic? Simple cubic means particles presented only corners, no other centers, only corners. Simple cubic or primitive. Suppose this is a corner particle, this is a corner particle. So two corner particles directly attached on the edge. So suppose this edge A we are taking, edge we are taking as A. According to the diagram, so A must be equal to 2 into radius. Why? Because this is the spherical particles, from here to here radius, from here to here radius. So edge length is equal to R. What is the packing efficiency formula? Packing efficiency equal to volume of atoms. First of all, how many atoms in simple cubic? In simple cubic, only corners are there. So 8 into 1 by 8. So total 1 atom. So in simple cubic, only 1 atom is present. But we are not asking atoms. Volume of atoms. Only 1 atom is there. Atom is we are taking as spherical. So volume will be 1 into 4 by 3 pi r cube divided by volume of unit cell. Unit cell is nothing but cube. So volume of cube will be a cube into 100. From this 4 by 3 pi r cube by A is nothing but 2 into radius. So this will be 2r whole cube into 100. So here r cube will be cancelled. Remaining all are numerical values. So on multiplying we get some 52.4%. That means in simple cubic inside 52.4% space is occupied by particles. Remaining whatever 47.6 is there, that will be empty space. So anything they can ask, either empty space or packing efficiency. So what is important here is the formula. A is equal to R. So in numerical questions, they will give radius, they will ask for edge length. For edge length they will ask for radius. Sometimes they will ask for distance between two particles. So between two particles is nothing but diameter. So diameter also they can ask. Diameter means 2R. So that is simple cubic. Similarly, if you are calculating for FCC, so when you are calculating for FCC, see this, what is FCC means? Here it is a corner particle, this is also a corner particle, both are corner particle. If these both are attached with this particle, so this is a face centered particle. Just one side face I am taking, so this is a face center, this is corner. So this is simply FCC unit cell. Take suppose this as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Any symbols we can give. So as usual, edge we are taking as A. The distance from A to C we are taking as B. Now we are taking a triangle ABC. So in triangle ABC, the diagonal AC square is equal to AB square plus BC square. So AC distance we have taken as B. B square is equal to AB is edge also edge. BC is also edge. Both are edge. A square plus A square. So B square is equal to A square. So also, what is the B? B is distance from here to here. Observe this, from here to here, one radius. Here completely diameter. Here completely one radius. So total radius will be 4 radius. One diameter and 2 radius. That means total 4 radius. So also, so here B calculate. B square is equal to A square. So B is equal to root 2A. So also B is equal to 4R from the diagram. So both we can equal. So root 2A is equal to 4R. So A is equal to 4 by root 2R. Or we can take A is equal to root 2R. If root 2 root 2 cancel, remaining 2 root 2 will present. So this formula will be important. Edge length radius relation in FCC. This is for FCC. So finally we calculate packing efficiency. Volume of atoms. In FCC, there are total 4 atoms. One corner plus 3 face center. Total 4 atoms. So 4 into 4 by 3 pi r cube divided by volume of cube. Cube means A cube. A is equal to root 2 r whole cube into 100. R cube will be cancelled. So again we get 78%. So in FCC, 78% space is occupied by particles. Remaining remaining how much? 22%. So 22% will be empty space. So that is the whatever the packing efficiency of FCC. Similarly, here 74%. So total percent will be 74% packing efficiency. So remaining 26 is the empty space. So in the same way we can calculate packing efficiency of BCC also. So when we are writing the diagram of BCC, body centered cube. See this. This is the corner particle. This is also corner particle. Remember, this is the front side corner, whereas this is the back side corner. So they are going inside. So this will be the body centered particle. So this is the body centered particle. Also remember, when we are taking a body diagonal, it must be attached to face angle compulsory. So before we are calculating, we must also calculate face diagonal. Any face angle we can take. Just take as this is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So this face diagonal we are taking as B. As usual, edge length we are taking as A, and this body diagonal we are taking as C. First we calculate face diagonal, after that we calculate body diagonal. So if you are taking triangle EFD, in EFD, so definitely FD square is equal to EF square plus ED square. That means B square is equal to A square plus A square. This is also edge, this is also edge, A square plus A square. So B square is equal to A square. Now this we can calculate body diagonal triangle AFD. In triangle AFD, body diagonal AF. So AF distance we are taking as C. C square is equal to, this will be B square plus edge 1 A square. So C square is equal to 2A square plus A square. B square value already we get 2A square. So finally C square is equal to 3A square. C square is equal to 3A square. C is equal to root 3A. So square can cancel, we get root 3A. At the same time, C means this is the distance. Here to here radius, here to here diameter, here to here radius. Total C also. C is equal to 4R. So both we can equal. Root 3a is equal to 4r, a is equal to 4 by root 3r. This is again important formula. So total 4 formulas in this chapter. 3 formulas are adjoint radius relation for simple cubic, for BCC, for XCC. The fourth formula is the density formula. Only 4 formulas. Numerical value any which they come from these 4 formulas, they will come. So a is equal to 4 by root 3r. So finally we calculate packing efficiency. Volume of atoms. In BCC total 2 atoms. 2 into 4 by 3 pi r cube by volume of cube. Cube means a cube. 4 by 3, 4 by root 3 r whole cube into 100. Again r cube will be cancelled. So on multiplying these values we get 68% packing efficiency. So BCC packing efficiency 68. Empty space will be 32%. So this is about packing efficiency. So we will see one question. So see these 2 questions. A compound is formed by X and Y, in which X atoms are at corners and Y atoms are at face centers. So compound is formed by 2 elements X and Y. X atoms present at corners, Y atoms present at face centers. So we have to find the formula of the compound. So such types of questions are very common and very easy questions. So what we have to identify? Formula of the compound. Compound contains 2 elements X and Y. What is the location of X atoms? X atoms present at corners. So we know that for every cube 8 corners are there. So the number of X atoms, 8 corners are there. So at 8 positions X atoms are there. But all corner atoms completely does not present inside, because corner atom contribute only 1 by 8 part. 8 into 8 will be 1. So number of X atoms will be 1. Similarly, number of Y atoms we are calculating. So Y atoms are at face center. Number of faces will be 6. At each face particle is there, Y particle. But all that face centered atom does not give inside the cube, only half part is there. That's why face centered atom contributes half part. So this is equal to 3. X atoms are 1, Y atoms are 3. So the formula of the compound X1, Y3 or XY3. So that will be the answer of the compound. So very simple questions they will give for BCC, FCC, whatever. So just we have to identify position and what is the contributing part. Corner part 1 by 8, face part 1 by 2, body part 1. Sometimes they will ask edge part. So edge part always equal to 1 by 4. Remember it? Edge part equal to 1 by 4. So based on which position particle is present, that part we can take and we can get easily number of atoms. So the steps of this are most important. Another question. AB crystallizes in a BCC with edge length A is equal to 387 picometers. Here edge length value is given 387 picometer and nature of unit cell is the BCC. So what we have to identify? The distance between 2 oppositely charged ions. So distance between 2 opposite charges, between 2 ions, the distance will be diameter, nothing but 2r. So we have to calculate 2r value. So how to calculate? So see this, given is the BCC. So BCC, edge length and radius relation. So BCC root 3a is equal to 4r. Or 4r is equal to root 3a. So 4r is equal to root 3a. So this is the relation, radius and edge length relation. Or a is equal to 4 by root 3a. Now what we have to identify? Distance between 2 oppositely charged. That means we have to identify 2 radius. If we are taking 2 into 2r, we can write, which is equal to root 3a. So 2r is nothing but distance between 2 oppositely charged lines. So root 3a by 2. So root 3 into edge length value is already given 387 picometers and divided by 2. So root 3 value 1.7. So on multiplying we get nearly 335 picometers. So such types of questions also most important. So relation between edge length and radius, one question. Another is the formula finding compound. So these two are very common questions from this solid state chapter. So whatever the remaining topic is there, we will see in the next class. Thank you very much.